Hey guys, welcome back to another Deep Woods Paranormal podcast. My name is Matt Harvey. I am the founder and lead investigator with Deep Woods Paranormal. I have Phil on with me today. He's from Tennessee. He's one of our listeners, and he has quite a few stories to tell. We're going to let him get into it, but he's got all kinds of cool paranormal stories he's going to share with us. So without further ado, Phil, welcome onto the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're welcome. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and all that stuff. I'm going to fix the camera while you do that. There we go.
Well, for the past 20 years, I've been self-employed as a property manager, owning and operating a management company, property management company. And during that time, we worked on over 4,700 properties. All of these properties were empty, in different stages of decay, some new, some falling apart. But as you can imagine, you go into 4,700 houses, you're going to occasionally come across something you can't explain.
Right.
And the areas that we've been into are northwest Georgia, southeast Tennessee, and parts of North Carolina, and some Alabama here and there. But you remember the picture I sent you of with the photo of the face in the window?
I think I do, yeah. I get tons and tons of photos from people, so...
Well, yeah. I'll just go ahead and give you the story on that one.
Go for
it. That was a funeral home at one time. It was built back in the turn of the century. And it had, like most funeral homes, it was family ran, and it was two-story. The funeral home was on the main floor, and they lived on the second floor.
Wow.
And of course, the basement was where the body prep, embalming, and also they had an oven down there for cremation. Okay. So I received, and it was empty, of course, when I went there, and it had been empty for at least 30 years, because I remember the property. I had driven past it many, many, many times. And it's in Chattanooga, Tennessee. This was about 5 years ago when we were at the property.
Okay.
And so we get there and we arrive at the property. We drill a lockout. We enter the property, and we did not know what it was. We did not know what it was until we got inside. Fully furnished.
Surprise!
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Fully furnished with everything that you would expect to see in a first floor funeral home.
Wow.
And it automatically, you just get the creep vibe. Yeah, the built-in creeper just sets in pretty fast. And so we go in there, and we all have a job to do. I've got two guys with me. We all go in separate directions, and we when we enter a property like that, we always lock the door on our way in, so we don't have any homeless people slipping in behind us and hiding out in the property or coming in there trying to rob us.
Right.
So everything was locked down, no power, no water. We're using headlamps, and we go in there and we do everything that we do on a first-time visit. And at the end of that visit, and of course, we're all moving around, so if anything happened during that time, we would never know it because we're making too much noise.
Oh, yeah.
And we're talking, radio's playing sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a busy street out front. But anyway, we finished, and we installed an accordion security door on the front door to keep homeless people from sleeping underneath that recessed area. And then I put this metal plaque on there that I put on every property we go to that says, "In case of emergency," and my name and my phone number.
Oh, cool.
Right?
Yeah.
And about, I guess it was probably 7-8 days later, I get a phone call from the Chattanooga Police Department saying that they needed me to come down to this property because there was also a bus stop there too. And it's right on the sidewalk, and then you got the street, you got a bus stop.
Okay.
That's a bus stop patron heard somebody banging on the door, asking to get out.
Oh no.
Yeah. So, the sheriff.
Where this is going?
Oh yeah. And my first thought was, how in the world did someone slip past us? And then the second thought was, well, if he's been in there for 7 or 8 days, there's no water, there's no food. So I asked the deputy, I said, did you find any way that they could have gotten in there, broken window? Of course, with the windows, you'd have to have a ladder to get up there. And how many homeless people carry a ladder? And,
Nothing I know.
Yeah. And, it's so, okay, stranger things have happened. So I saddle up, dress up, go down there, and I get there. And by the time I get there, there's 3 city police officers and there's 1 county. And they're all just, they have nothing else to do. It's 2:00 in the morning. They might want a little, extra security. So I get out and I go up, and the officer says, he said, there's been someone beating on this door since we've been here. Not consistently, but on occasion they're rapping on the door. And of course, this door is about 2 inches thick. It's made out of mahogany. It's 8 feet tall. It's 6 feet wide. I mean, it's big. It's massive.
Yeah.
So, in order to make a sound like that, you'd have to have some kind of a hammer, rubber mallet, metal hammer. So I open the door, and he makes me stay back because they want to go in there and they want to clear the building.
Yep.
So 4 officers go in, 2 officers guard the front door. They go in, and they're there for a while, and they come back downstairs. They've been upstairs, they've been downstairs, they come back, and they didn't find anybody. They found nothing.
Wow.
Absolutely nothing. And then I asked him, I said, well, did you, in the basement, did you look and check and see if there was any kind of a large drain pipe or a manhole or something? And they said, nope. They looked in every closet, every cabinet, looking for any way to get in or get out of that property. And they couldn't find it. Could not find it.
Wow.
And then, everybody was scratching their head, and all the officers we all heard it. So I locked it back up, closed the security door, and 5 days later, got another phone call. Wow. Somebody's in the building. Somebody at the bus stop said there's someone beating on the door. The same officer was responded because that's where he works at. That's his part of town. And he called me and he said, Bill, there's somebody in here again. I said, okay, let's do it again. So I go down there, and sure enough, we opened the door and there was nothing there. Absolutely nothing.
That's crazy.
And then about 2 weeks after that, the property was sold to another investor, and we never went back. But and even to this day, 5 years later, the property is still empty.
Damn.
Still empty. And it would make a great place to live if you could handle it.
Right.
It's a beautiful property. And also, Matt, with what we come across, we never had a backstory. We never knew of anything horrible,
right?
Or right. We have nothing. We didn't know anything about the property, which made
you're going in cold. Yeah.
Yeah, and what that does, it doesn't pre-program you to expect a certain outcome because someone's told you that someone died in the living room, violently.
No history that you can that you know about.
No,
I think if it's a funeral home, you might have a little bit of a different opinion before you go in.
Oh yeah, and then I was thinking about this story way back when I first reached out to you. And I went back and I started going through some of the photos that I had taken of that property. And I just thought, you know what? I'm going to zoom in on these windows. And sure enough, I zoomed in on that one window and there was that face.
Wow. And
the face was of a man with a handlebar mustache, which is what you would have had, 30, back in the 50s or 40s. It looks like there's a black coat on and maybe a piece of a hat.
Wow.
And it was like, wow, because, when I would do these do these jobs like that, I was there to do a job and get paid.
Right.
I wasn't there to do a paranormal research or a ghost hunt or anything like that. I was just there to do a job and get paid. And I have another funeral home story. This happened probably about 8 years ago.
Okay.
And this one was in an area called Sequatchie Valley, which is probably 40 miles north of Chattanooga.
Okay.
And this was a house that had been used as a funeral home.
Oh.
Now, once again, we did not know this. We just got a work order to go there and take care of it and start managing it. So we get there. It's a large house, got a wraparound front porch, 2-story. It's probably 6,000 square feet. We get there. Yeah, it's a large monster white. Yeah. We get there and we notice that there's some kind of a little parking lot out back. So, okay, they might have just done that because they needed a lot of cars.
Right.
But anyway, we go on the property and we're looking around. There's no furniture and it's empty. And then we go downstairs and we find everything that you would need to do body prep.
Wow.
Yep. I mean, there's all these stainless steel tools hanging on the wall. There's a stainless steel flat table there with a drain under it. And there's a lot of small rooms down there. So we start going room to room. And we come across this room and it's closed and it's locked. It's got a padlock on it. So, okay, we get bolt cutters and we cut it loose. We open the door, shine our lights in there because there is absolutely no natural light coming into this space.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you if that had power.
Yeah, no power. And that kind of darkness can be claustrophobic.
Right.
Because it just like moves in on you.
Right.
And when we open that door, it swallows up a lot of your light. But anyway, we open the door, we shine a headlamp in there, and there were 2 coffins in there. 2 coffins.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And they were set up on these roll-around carts that you see them use in funerals. They're accordion, and they stretch out, and they were sitting on these roll-around carts. Okay, it's a funeral home. They would have coffins.
Right.
And so I called the lender on that, and the investor said, "Hey, this was a funeral home, and there's 2 coffins in the basement. What do you want me to do with them?" He said, "Well, throw them away." So I'm thinking, when I go to the landfill and start sliding coffins off, what's going to happen to me? And we open them up, and you know what? We better check, make sure these things are empty.
Right.
We may need to call the sheriff's department.
Surprise!
Yeah. And so we checked them; they were empty. And one of the guys that worked with me said, "Phil, what you going to do with those coffins?" So we're going to throw them away. We're going to landfill them because that's what the investor has told me to do. Yeah. He said, "Well, hey, I work at this massive spook house, Halloween spook house in Chattanooga every year for 1 month, and it's large." He said, "I bet my boss over there would love to have them." I said, "Well, call him up and tell him if he can come get them today, they're his."
Yeah.
Well, he comes and gets them, and they had to be carried upstairs because the elevator was gone. So he took them to his place. He took some stuff he found down there. Anyway, he put them in his spook house, and he called me like 2 weeks after this. He had opened it and said, "Hey, do you know any backstories or anything about these coffins?" I said, "No." I said, "No." He said, "Well, since I brought them in, I've got a lot of my actors who won't go into certain parts of this place by themselves. And I just figured out that it was when we got these coffins and put them in here."
Wow.
And he's a believer in the paranormal like me. So he just thought, well, it must be something to do with the coffins. I said, "Well, we don't have a backstory." So I went back to the property. We were there working on it again, doing some work. And all of a sudden this elderly man was walking down the road, sidewalk, and he comes up and says, I break a conversation with him, and he tells me that he used to work there. I
Wow.
said, wow. He said, yeah, I was one of the directors here. And I asked him, I told him about the coffins so what was those coffins for? They just leftover inventory or something? He said, no, those two coffins were used when people were cremated.
Oh,
What they
geez.
what they would do is they would have a regular service, and they would put the body in the coffin. They'd have a regular Christian service or whatever. Then after the service, they would close it, take it down the elevator, remove them from the body, and then they would be carted off to a cremation location. And he said those coffins probably had at least 150, 200 people used it. So they saw a lot of use. They didn't get buried, but so I don't know. Would you think that some of that residual could hang on to those coffins? And
Yeah, and even the intelligent haunts can do it too. Um, Sometimes when an energy is left on a item or a location or whatever, let's say it was a massive murder somewhere, that energy can get trapped there. And if enough people put their energy back into it, they come in and like investigate it, or come in and leave a memorial or whatever. And maybe whoever lost that person come in and they memorialize those people or that person. That can also draw energy back to that location too. So moving those things sometimes can draw it, activity. Um, when let's say you come in and remodel, like our last house we remodeled it, and as soon as we started remodeling, all kinds of weird paranormal stuff happened. Footsteps, apparitions, dogs were freaking out at just barking. My lab would literally come into the kitchen and act like there was somebody there and bark her way back out the door into the mudroom and wouldn't come out. And
wow,
that was just, she's no longer with us, but I think she could see spirits, and I could take what's called a K2 device. Where did that go? Here it is. To take one of these, and these are just a very simple EMF detector. So I'll just light it up. That's what it does when it detects anything electronics.
yeah,
I take my phone to it, and I start doing stuff on my phone. You see how it lights up. It
oh
just
yeah,
any little EMF. So, anyways, I took this and I traced out a shape of a person, and even though there's nobody, we could not see anyone there.
wow,
It went all the way up and lit all the way up, which is pretty high actually for that little device, and did not stop lighting up. And so I did it again, and about 2 hours later, there wasn't any, it didn't light up at all. So I went to the floor. I always say make it the sign of cross. You go to the floor, you go to the ceiling, you go left, you go right. I'm sure you check for electrical surges and stuff every once in a while. And so you're looking for high EMF or high electricity locations, maybe where a wall isn't basically the wire is not shielded properly and stuff like that. So
do
that's
you
kind of what
believe
it
that?
is.
Do you believe that also just by removing them from that location uh, where they spent their well, I mean they were already dead, but
Yeah.
where they were last before they put underground, where they
Yeah.
were cremated, that could also uh, bring up some sort of energy out of those coffins.
They could have, yeah. I mean, we went into the only funeral home I've ever investigated. We went there, and it was an active funeral home, and it was the same people that actually went on a ghost tour with me. They It took a place called Black Star Canyon. We witnessed a Bigfoot. All of us witnessed a Bigfoot for our first time, and
Wow.
so they were all excited, and so they set up this funeral home. I guess they knew the owner or something, and essentially, oh yeah, come on in, we're going to investigate this funeral home. And the people at the funeral home were actually kind of excited about it. They wanted to know if there was any evidence caught, and we caught a lot of what are called EVPs, where you record audio with an audio recorder, and you ask questions and you leave a little bit of space, like 15, 20 seconds in between a question. Like I might ask, what's your name? And then we give time for a response, and then ask, how long have you been here? Um, are you okay? Stuff like that, to look for intelligent answers. And I think we got a lot of stuff, and I think one of them had a message for she had just died, and they had gone into this room that they set aside for the people to grieve at after the funeral, and so this young lady had a message for her family, and I actually clipped it and emailed it to the owners so they could share it with the family. But there was a patient, or not a patient, but I guess you'd call it a person that passed away, still he was still being processed, let's just say. And so he was not in a coffin, but he was in a foam casket, if you will, with a bunch of ice around him. And he had just been dropped off, I guess, that day. And he died on the operating table. And they were basically going after this surgeon for malpractice. I guess he accidentally, bear with me, my allergies are going crazy with all this rain out. But I guess he had accidentally clipped an artery, and we had no idea. And the guy that was kind of watching us do our investigation representing the fuel home came in, and because that K2, I set it down on there, I wasn't even thinking about what it was, and it lights all the way up. I'm like, okay, so what's going on? This is before we had Ghost Box and Spirit Box and all that stuff. And so we asked them to light that up for yes and leave it at one light for no, the K2 device I just showed you. And it lit all the way up and would stay lit up for, I don't know, forever, which seemed like weird. So I took another one. I'm looking around trying to find out where that, energy is coming from, and nowhere. I mean, he was like you were talking about. He was up on one of those racks that they put him on that can go up and down.
Yeah.
And so we're looking for any source of energy, and it stayed lit up for about 30 seconds, which is totally unusual. And he was upset. He was very upset. He was only in his 30s, and he was really mad that he had passed away so early and wasn't ready to move on. And so we had a full-on conversation with him. But we unfortunately disturbed him, which we didn't mean to do. We were trying to be as respectful as possible. And, that's what happened. But that wasn't in Texas. I was out in California.
Do you believe that properties can be cursed?
I think people can put an energy on a location. I'm not sure about curse, but I definitely believe that somebody can leave an imprint, a bad imprint on a location for sure.
Let me give you a quick story about what I encountered. My wife and I, we'd bought a property, had 3 houses on it, and they were identical houses. Cookie cutter. The one on each end were occupied, and the one in the middle, it needed work. Okay. So the guy on the left and the guy on the right, I hired them to work for me.
Oh, nice.
One was cutting grass and one was just going around doing work. And anyway, not long after we bought the property, maybe 3-4 months, the guy on the right was murdered in the front yard.
Jesus.
Yeah, murdered. They did not know. He was hit in the forehead with a hammer.
Oh my God.
In the front yard. Yeah. And he laid there and he went to the hospital. He went to the hospital, of course, the ending.
Yeah.
And then about 8 months later, the guy on the left who was working for me, he was, I think he was 45, 46. Anyway, he started hurting real bad. And he went to the hospital, and the hospital told him, you know what, you've got cancer so bad, you've only got 6 weeks.
Jesus.
He was gone in 3, right? Well, he had his girlfriend living with him, and the girlfriend had a son, and so her and her son were going to take over the payments on the house, the rent. So the son was like 21 years old. Well, he dies of an overdose of fentanyl in the middle of the middle house. He was using the middle house as a place to go do his drugs. And he was a great kid. I mean, he would have been if he'd had a better upbringing, he would have been a great kid. But anyway, it killed him. And then the mom, who was his mom, and was left in that house by herself, and she had a stroke. And she laid in the bathtub for hours before someone found her. Of course, by that time, she had
Wow.
irreversible damage. She went into a nursing home. We went to see her a few times, and she passed away in the nursing home because of the damage her body had taken from the stroke. So, here we got we got 4 people
Yeah.
so far.
Yeah.
And my wife says, you need to get rid of that place. So I said, okay. I put it up for sale, and 5 days later, I had a taker. And he was an investor, wanting to have some more rentals. So he said, well, why are you getting rid of it? So I just told him the truth. He said, I don't believe in that hocus pocus. Well, and also the guy that I had bought it from, he died not long after I bought it. So here we got, 5 people. So I told him, he said, I don't believe in that hocus pocus. I said, good. And we signed a contract. A month later, he had a stroke.
Dang.
And he was going to fix the place up and make 3 rentals out of it. Guess what? That was probably 6 years ago, and the properties are still empty. No one's ever, he did not complete one bit of work on those properties. And you drive by there today, they're overgrown, they're falling in. And I'm glad I got rid of it.
Yeah.
I'm glad for whatever it was, got in touch with me.
Yeah.
But there was one thing that was kind of strange on that property that I never did figure out what it was. But one of the guys that worked for me there, he was doing some work up under the house, and he came across this hole in the ground. And it was probably an old well. That's what I'm thinking.
Wow.
But we tried to shine a flashlight in there, and we could not see the bottom. We could not see the bottom.
Dang.
Yeah. So I had him take and board it up so nothing can fall in there, like cats, dogs,
Right.
animals, or people.
Right.
And but that was the strangest thing in the world that I never had that happen again. And we've had owned houses up and down for all of our life and never had that happen. And once again, we didn't know any backstory. What was the backstory? Did something, do you think that someone might have been in the occult, might have been doing something that was demonic, that may have left an imprint there, or may have left something behind?
It could be Indian burial ground. It could be a lot of things. Maybe something bad happened there. They could have done. I know one location we went to, up in, where was it, Minnesota. It was demonically infested. I mean, it was just like there was demons everywhere. Wow. And we cleansed that house and cleansed that house and cleansed that house. We ended up staying there 3 days before we came back.
Wow.
And I kept having visions of an altar and human sacrifices and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, and there's some kind of knife that has some kind of energy to it, and some tribe had just, sacrificed people there, and so they didn't like people on their land, and so all kinds of bad things were happening, like you were talking about. People were getting sick in the house, and nightmares, and all kinds of things. We caught an apparition in that house, and other things. It was one of those locations where somebody just built in the wrong place. I mean, I grew up in a house where it was Indian burial ground, and they were supposed to move the bodies and religiously move the bodies. The Indians were, and they just built on top of the mounds. And so, as a kid, I grew up with hauntings and all kinds of paranormal activities. There was an Indian there that didn't like me. So,
oh no.
Anyways, we are getting close to being out of time. We have about 10 more minutes. Do you have another story you want to share?
Absolutely. Quick? Absolutely. I've got, I received a property to go to Cartersville, Georgia, to a house. It was completely empty, no mailbox, cleaned up, looks nice. I went to pick up my help, and there was a guy across the street. He was, I don't know, he was probably in his 60s at that time, and he always wanted to go with us just to hang out, right? He had nothing to do, so yeah, come on. But he suffered from schizophrenia, and he had medicine, but it took care of all of his symptoms except for his hallucinations. He could still see and he could still hear.
Oh wow.
Right. So we got there. He had a heart condition. The power was on. I put him inside the house in a lawn chair, and I turned the AC on. And I said, "You stay in here." And but what I used to do, he would get in the back of the van, and he would be talking to someone in the back of the van.
Mm-hmm.
And occasionally, I would say, "Gerald, are you talking to me?" And he would say yes or no because I didn't know.
Yeah.
And then he would tell me who he was talking to. So we completed our work. I went in the house to get him. He was talking to somebody when I walked in the door. I said, "Gerald, are you talking to me?" He said no. He gave me a name. Okay. He did that all the time, so I didn't think anything of it. But I got back home that night, and I went to my computer to do what I always did, invoice.
Yeah.
And I pull up the information on this house, and it always tells me who the last mortgager was. And I looked, and that was the name. The last mortgager's name was the name Gerald gave me.
Oh wow.
Right. And then I thought, well, okay, that might be a coincidence. And next time I saw Gerald, I said, "Gerald, do you ever talk to that person that you were talking to in Cartersville?" He said, "No, Phil, that guy lives there."
Wow.
And I was like, whoa. So, I mean, is it possible that people with schizophrenia, sometimes they're seeing a spirit?
Yeah.
I mean, I understand that they are seeing things that aren't fair.
Yeah.
And they have definitely to do with spirits, but is it possible because of their condition that they can possibly see spirits?
I believe so. I mean, if you ever watch homeless people, you'll see them sitting walking down the road or just sitting there just talking to somebody that's not there.
Oh yeah.
And I believe that they're talking to, just maybe somebody. No. But it could be a ghost or it could be an angel. It could be, something else bad. Who knows?
Oh yeah. You don't know what they've conjured up.
Some people, unfortunately get involved with things that they shouldn't get involved with, like drugs or alcohol or whatever. And I believe that sometimes people are influenced into that by unseen forces. And I don't want to call them what they are, but that, are manipulate us in the wrong way, we'll just say.
Well, they could open themselves up to things that you can't wash off.
Right, exactly. I mean, a lot of the people that are homeless are people that are business owners. They've done well for themselves, and then one bad thing happens, and they lose everything. So it's sad, but I mean, then they're out on the streets, and they're looking for some way to get back into back up in society, and they just never do.
Would you look at what they live in, and you think, "Good night, I wouldn't want to spend 10 minutes in there during the day, much less 10 hours at night."
Oh yeah, I've been to locations. I've been through thousands of places, and we've been in places where homeless have lived, and that's sad. I mean, old decaying, but you've seen stuff like that too.
Oh yeah.
Old decaying buildings that unfortunately smells of feces and
mold,
and who knows what else, and it just makes them sick, and that kind of stuff could be making them mentally ill as well. But I mean, it's just sad that those people have gotten into those situations, and there's on their way back.
And there is no doubt that they're encountering spirits in those houses.
Oh yeah,
and they might, because of their mental condition, that probably keeps them from just jumping out the window.
Yeah,
in fear. So they have conversations with these spirits, and that may give them some sort of comfort,
right,
or something like that. Because you would have to, I think you'd have to have some sort of sensitivity to that kind of stuff when you're them. Kind of like you. I guarantee you have a built-in K2 meter inside your body.
Yeah,
you can walk into a property.
But
it'll go
most
off.
of us, yeah. When I grew up, I lived with that stuff. So my parents they didn't believe in it, but they never really told me it wasn't real either. So I wasn't told, "Oh, you're just being silly. Be quiet." They listened to my stories, and I stopped talking about it. But
well, for me, it was unspoken.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was back when I was a kid. those kind of things would get you locked up.
Right. I
You
grew up
know?
late 70s, early 80s, and we were kind of beyond that point at that point in time. But my parents did take me to see doctors from time to time just
Oh
to
yeah.
make sure I wasn't, losing my mind. But yeah, I think that's
Oh.
what happens to a lot of people these days. The doctors go, oh yeah, you're experiencing this and that and other thing. Let me give you some pills for that.
Hmm.
And, people just don't realize that they're more open than they think they are, to the paranormal. And they're experiencing things. And I think the paranormal right now this is the craziest I've ever seen it. I mean, I've never seen it so active in my life. It usually goes in cycles. It goes up and then goes down, and then up and down. It's quiet for a while, and then it gets active, and then it gets quiet. But no, it's just been up, 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 up. More and more
It,
activity, more Bigfoot reports, more ghosts and hauntings, more dogman sightings or werewolves or whatever you want to call them. All kinds of stuff is going on right now. I mean,
well,
every
I've got some
paranormal
Bigfoot
thing
tales
out
too.
there is being seen, and demons, angels, all kinds of stuff is going on. So
The stuff behind you on the shelf, is that stuff that you've taken from houses?
some of it, I picked up at other stores like the dolls. I don't think they'd be safe in a little kid's house. So especially the one right here, right here, right above
Oh
me.
yeah. Yep.
If she didn't have her hat on and you could see her closely, it looks like her eyes follow you around.
Wow.
One of them is very mischievous. One of the little girls that is attached to one of them roams the house. I don't mind. I have set rules that they can roam around the house. They're supposed to stay in the office. Raggedy Andy back there, sometimes he looks like he has a face, like a little boy's face, like pops out and you can see his head like move like a normal human. It's kind of creepy.
Wow.
But I picked those up from different places because I just don't want people to, little kids to get a hold of them and like we were talking about, have a friend, if you will. None of them are, the D word or anything dangerous or mean, but they are mischievous. Some of them that are attached, you can't see them all. I'll tilt this up so you can see the other ones. Let's see if I can get this to tilt up a little bit. You can see the other ones up here,
Oh yeah.
shelf up there. All except for him in the corner, the old doll. But yeah, and then a lot of stuff on the shelf over there has attachments as well. So
Do
yeah,
you
we do
have
collect
to?
things. A lot of the things that I collect get locked up. I have something locked in the closet next to me that I was wearing at an investigation. It was a type of cross, and that got a incubus attached to it, and so that now is sitting in holy water, sea salt, blessed oil, and a bunch of other stuff, and it's surrounded by different types of stones. I usually have them on my desk, but anyways, it just keeps them from getting away, getting out and hurting anyone because that one is pretty nasty. I mean, it
Yeah, I
literally
wouldn't
bit and
want that.
scratched me. So nope, you're not going anywhere.
You're braver than I am.
Well, I kind of got thrown into this, if you will. So,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I
anyways,
like a good haunt, but I don't want to take anything home with me.
right, exactly. All right, well, Phil, we're running out of time, so we're gonna have to end this, but we'll definitely have you back because I know you said you have a bunch of stories. So I'd love to hear.
Absolutely.
It's been a pleasure to have you on, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah.
And we will catch you on the next one.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome.